Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here on Forza Motorsport 5 with something a little bit different. We've got a FailRace Touring Car Championship currently going on. I thought I'd bring highlights from the first round since it was really rather good fun. The cars that we are running, there are four different manufacturers in it. The first one, the Volkswagen Scirocco. Now all of the cars are running the Turbo Rally engine. They have very slightly different parts, so they all end up at the same PI. The Turbo Rally engine itself is standard, 373 horsepower, quite a lot of power, 442 torques and even more torque in these. They are all front-wheel drive, and while they are all very similar in lap times in the hands of the same driver, they do have their quirks. The Scirocco, for example, is the slowest of all of the cars in a straight line, but it is probably the easiest car to drive. It certainly has the most cornering grip. The Honda Civic, this is a bit of a overall car, if you'd like. It has half-decent straight-line speed. It'll outdrag the Scirocco, there's no doubt about that. And it's pretty good through the corners. It's not quite as quick as the Volkswagen, but through the turns, it's certainly pretty good. Again, another car that is relatively easy to drive, and it's not that much slower in a straight line than the Ford Focus. I'm running the Focus in this championship. This is the second fastest of the cars in the straight line. Yeah, a little bit faster than the Civic, not by much, but noticeably faster, shall we say, than the Scirocco. I mean, we're not talking huge differences here, since everything is, same PI and whatever, but it is noticeably quicker than the Scirocco. When it comes to the corners, though, it's not quite as good. The Focus certainly isn't the easiest car to drive here. Once you get things right, there's not too many problems with it. But yeah, not the easiest car. And our fourth and final vehicle, is the Scion TC. Definitely the fastest car here in a straight line. Very quick accelerating, very, very good top-end speed. However, it is the most difficult to drive around the track. It's just not got the same grip as the other cars, and through this first section here at Yas Marina, it's very noticeable that the Scion does just struggle a little bit. Now, these cars being all front-wheel drive and having a lot of power and torque, they will be understeering, and on cold tyres they will be oversteering as well, so that's something to watch when it comes to the first lap. After qualifying, the grid for the first race looks like this, with two Focuses on the front row, and the Focuses did sort of dominate at the front, with four of the top five cars being Focuses. Yeah, FailRace Motorsport 4th and 5th on the grid. Things were, apart from the first place car that was miles up the road, lap time wise, yeah, things were fairly close down. 6th place we have some more Sciroccos. Highest placed Scion could only manage 7th place. The highest placed Civic only got in 2/10. And then further back we have a couple more Sciroccos, the Civic, Focus as we go down towards the back of the grid, and the Scions towards the back, but with their straight line speed, they are always a car to be sort of on the lookout for. Certainly from the start and down the long straight that you get here at Yas Marina, the Scions can be a little bit of a pain. We go to the start of race 1. The cars are in ghost mode. The way that this lobby had to be set up, the collisions were set on default so that if there's lag going on, cars will go ghost. It looks a little bit crappy for a start, but it's just what happens. Up ahead, we tried to go 3 wide into the turn 1. I ended up on a curb, and that didn't work. With cold rear tyres and a big curb, my car got sideways and I lost a lot of time. My teammate got sideways, a Scion got on 2 wheels, a couple of Focuses got a little bit out of shape, but got away with it. This Scirocco is trying to get up the inside. There's also one car here with gold paint where this paint just didn't load in the replay. Forza being derpy as per normal into the chicane, and a Focus ended up pointing backwards after he just outbraked himself a little bit, and it all got very, very crowded. I'd recovered a bit from my poor start. I tried to sneak up the inside of a Scion. It didn't quite work. I ended up across the curves, and now we have a Scirocco slipstreaming against a Scirocco, and then we see the speed of the Scion. They are pretty damn fast. I'm behind this group. I've also got a Scion for company as we go 2 wide further back, and there's plenty of jostling for position. The Scion in this group here just backed off a little bit, just to be on the safe side coming into this first big stop. I'm on the inside of the Scion behind, and I get the position back. The Scirocco is still trying to find a way past, having a look. The Scions are a very difficult car to overtake because they have such good acceleration. Whenever they get to the corner here, despite having a much better run off the turn, the Golf is still stuck on the outside, and then things get just a little bit scary with lag. The Scirocco ends up off the track. Everybody gets through the turn though. Everybody gets through okay, and there were a couple of bumps at the start, but on the whole, it was a pretty clean getaway. At the front, and it was the two Aeon cars. I believe the other one is supposed to have an Aeon livery. As I said, replay has sort of derped out. The pole sitter has pretty much driven away from the first and second and miles ahead. It was a lot calmer at the front. You can see the size of the gap they've got back to us lot that was squabbling over various positions. I was still trying to work my way past the bloody Scion. This would become very quickly a theme of this first round. I could be very quick through the first few corners, I could be quicker through the chicane and on the hairpin, but if the Scion stayed in front and defended well, it was incredibly hard to get past as we come down the straight when we're catching on the Scirocco up ahead. I'm too far back to really have a dive up the inside. The Scion ended up out a little bit wide. I saw an opportunity to try and get a good line through the hairpin, and I mean it worked to an extent, but I'm then still stuck on the outside for the final turn, and the Scion was just sort of in the middle of the corner. I couldn't quite carry the speed that I want to, and then it's up to turn one again, and the Scion is just that little bit too far ahead. The focus is pretty good on the brakes, I have to say, but I can't come from that far back and make a manoeuvre stick cleanly. It's just too much distance to close in. I'm across the curves trying to find any which ways around the outside at the top of the course. If you can keep around the outside, you will be on the inside for the chicane that's coming up, and I managed to keep my car there, but I just don't have the acceleration. I'm thinking about it. Scion is a little bit wide through the first part then, but he's still on the inside for the next part, and he can keep defending. And yeah, again, alongside of the hairpin, and this continued for a couple of laps. I just could not find a way past. Up ahead, and my teammate was having a similar battle. This was over 4th place, the 3rd place Scirocco just a little bit ahead of this group. And yeah, my teammate was coming under fire from the Scion here. Scion trying to get brave, looking around the outside. The focus is just couldn't quite slow it down in time. That is another theme you'll see through here. Lots of outbraking yourself into that hairpin. A fairly common thing to be doing. But yeah, the Scions were creating their own trains going on, and this is further back. Can't remember entirely. I think this is for around 8th place at the moment. There's another Scirocco trying to get past the Scion, carries so much more speed around the outside of the corner. This time though, the Scirocco is just about far enough alongside to have a go, but can't be quick enough through the curbs. The Civic gets a really good run, slightly bumps into the side of the Volkswagen and ends up in a little bit of trouble. Now comes the Focus with a very good run out of the hairpin. The Scirocco, again, can get a good line out of here, but is sort of slightly struggling with speed. The Scion is going to pull up alongside and go past. The Focus is not that bad in a straight line either. That's going to catch up to the back of the Scirocco as they come up towards the hairpin. But then it's all about who is best on the brakes. The Focus has a go but can't quite get it stopped in time. Just runs a little bit wide. The Scion ran a little bit wide as well, and the Scirocco keeps the position. I think the Focus dropped back alongside with the Civic. Civic tried around the outside, and the Scirocco has got to try and find another way past this Scion. Further up, I was starting to gradually make progress after a rather poor start. Again, we see Scirocco just outbraking himself by a tiny bit. Doesn't take much. These cars are pretty damn quick in a straight line. Doesn't take much. Miss that braking point by a tiny little bit and end up out a bit wide. And that's certainly the easiest way you're going to get past. This is not the easiest track to overtake on, in all honesty. The other FailRace Motorsport car was still stuck behind a white and orange Scion, and yeah, really struggling to make progress. You can see the first three are starting to make a little bit of gap, and of course, as soon as you start fighting like this, as soon as you start constantly side by side and having to defend and trying to attack, you're really going to be slowing. You're going to be slowing each other down, meaning 3rd place, the Scirocco, can drive away down the road, and they were gradually bringing the Scirocco that was behind this group and me were getting closer and closer the more they fought. Coming down the back straight, the focus is this time on the inside. The Scion, though, has so much speed, he can simply breeze past, and by the time they get to the braking zone, he's just about enough ahead. The focus goes for a dive up the inside, does manage to get it stopped. Has to take a bit of a shallow line through the turn, a little bit slow off the corner, and still the TC holds on to the position. FailRace Motorsport car around the outside of the final turn. A little bit of a bump between the pair of them, but everybody is fine up towards the first corner. If you can keep it around the outside of the final turn, you'll be on the inside for the first turn, which is good for overtaking. However, the focus is just a little bit too slow off the corner. Scion gets the cutback, has the acceleration, and maintains the position. And now the focus can be quick through these next couple of fast corners. Again, trying to keep to the outside, but you can see just that one lap how much the Scirocco has closed in on this pair. And I'm coming to join in the fun as well, as they're really battling hard. It's side by side through the chicane. Scirocco right on the tail of this group. I'm understeering a little bit wide. Focus up the inside, they're trying to make it 3 wide on the exit of the corner. The Scion's gone investigating the side of the track, and then there's another drag race down the long straight, and there's not much the Scirocco can do here. But now the focus does have the lead of this group. Scion closing very quickly though. They are a really tough car to race. The Scion goes to the outside, focus sort of shuffles him over as far as he can. Scion out brakes itself a little bit, just running wide, and the focus has finally got the lead of the group. And now the TC has got to worry about 2 more cars that are behind it. It's a 4-way battle for what was 4th place in the race, and this battle would continue pretty much throughout the race. For the latter half, it was just a constant 4-way battle over 4th place. The front 3 were out, and it was relatively calm. And it was certainly helped by us lots all squabbling and slowing each other down. The Scirocco tried a move on the Scion, but again it's just too slow in a straight line to get the move done there. And I'm going to have a look now, get my car to the inside. I have a dive on the brakes and I can't stop it either. Go off a little bit investigate. The Scion was out wide as well on that particular corner. He's having a look, see if he can get past the focus leading the way. I'm running a little bit wide. You'll see a fair few cars running wide through turns. Understeer with these vehicles is quite noticeable. Certainly if you're trying to go on the power just a tiny bit soon, it's very easy to get it incredibly wrong. And the curbs here are quite nasty. Again, you'll often see cars, if they end up out a little bit wide, will avoid trying to cut across some of the bigger curbs because they will really mess about with the cars. And after the Scirocco nearly lost a place to me, through the next couple of corners, because it has such good grip, it always got to the inside of the Scion. I had a really good run out of the turn, but I didn't really fancy the whole going 3 wide into that particular corner, so promptly gave up on that one. 3 cars into the chicane isn't going to work, but on the exit of the hairpin I managed to get a good drive. There's a little bit of lag. Lag was pretty good though in this. We didn't have too many problems, just a little bit on that particular one. I managed to get up the inside of the Scirocco and then could simply out drag it further back, and the Scion that I've been stuck behind at the start was fighting over 8th place with a Scirocco and what was the highest place Civic in this race. Again, coming down the straight, you'll see the gap that the Scion had to come from, how far back it was. As you come up towards the stop, the Scirocco moves over to go defensive into the hairpin. You can go around the outside of this turn if you can get the car stopped in time, but it's pretty damn difficult to do, especially when the car that you're racing with has probably got the most grip, the most cornering speed. The Scion lined it up though as a very good run out of the final turn, and then that's up the inside into turn 1. But again, just those couple of corners where they've been fighting a bit, and you see how much the Civic has closed in. The Scion's on the inside, clips the curb big time, and gets the car on 2 wheels. The Scirocco's out wide. Both of them were pretty slow off the turn, and the Civic is now up there having a look. Scirocco gets a big moment of understeer through the couple of corners here. I'm not sure he gave the Civic a bumper, if the Civic just swerved a little bit to avoid him. In the end, the Scion moved up into 8th place. The Scirocco just about held on to 9th. And the Civic is still in there having a look, see if it can pick up any of the pieces. Scirocco gets a little bit of an understeer on the exit of that turn. And this group, where we were still squabbling over over positions. There was a bit of a bump at one point that between me and the Scion that put me a bit sideways, but we still remained bloody close throughout this race. As we come down the back straight, at this moment in time, the Scion was at the back of the group. The Scirocco was in 5th, but now we're going to go 3 wide up towards the hairpin. Never the best idea. The speed of the TC is just enough. The Scirocco was trying to have a look around the outside. Both of them go very, very wide. I'll have them positions. It's lovely and easy when the cars in front of you just run themselves out of road. Now the Scirocco's got a very, very fast run out of the final turn. He manages to find a way past the TC. There were more changes of positions. Oh, ignore the ghost car there. Somebody lagged out and it just has the car there for some reason. But there were more changes of position in this battle for 4th place, and there probably will be in the entirety of the F1 season that's going on at the moment. We were every single lap. We would be in a different order. It was very good fun. I absolutely love this battle. Now the Scirocco is again up the inside on the run out of the sweepers, but then that puts you on the outside for the chicane, and the Scion can defend without too many problems. And then we're going to come to a straight again. And even if the Scirocco does get his car up the inside, which he can, and he'll take a better line through here, he'll carry more speed. But he just can't do too. Even the Scion going across the curb and having a terrible run out of the turn. Still, it's just got the straight line speed to make it a real nuisance for the Scirocco's. Yeah, by the time I get to the corner, it'll be out of range. The other white and orange Scion was causing another trade behind him. The Scirocco and the Civic just couldn't quite find a way past. They couldn't quite ever get in position through the turns to make a move stick, and of course if you ever got alongside it in the first couple of corners, it's going to just breeze past you on the straight. Yeah, they just could not find a way past. Scion trains were littering the track as we come up towards the hairpin. The Scirocco kind of thinking about going around the outside. Your best bet to get past one of these is probably through this final turn. If you can get side by side with it through this final turn around the outside of that corner, you can probably make enough of a nuisance of yourself into turn 1 so that it can't get past you, and then you can be fast through the next couple of corners and hopefully get yourself out of range by the time it comes to the long straight. But if you can't get past there, and if you leave it until, well, I mean, you'll be quick through here, but if you leave it until the chicanes, you just can't do much about it getting past you on the straight. And yeah, that is how the battles were largely going. You see the Scirocco so much faster through the corner. Civic was out a little bit wide. If you go too wide through there, there is a very nasty bump on the sort of infield of the track. A few cars did find that with their understeerings. But yeah, everybody's through there okay this time. Scirocco's having a look, but at this point you've left it too late to get past a Scirocco. Not a Scirocco, sorry, a Scion. And further back, I mean, this was over, I think it was sort of 11th or 12th place or something. There was still a lot of good racing going on here. Again, it's another Scion that was being a little bit difficult to pass, although the downsides, of course, with the Scion is there are much more difficult cars to drive, and it's much easier to make mistakes with them. And sure enough, this particular TC just couldn't quite get it stopped at the end of the long straight, allowing the Civic a relatively straightforward pass. And then, of course, we're coming up to the corners the Civic likes, and it'll pull a decent gap. And back to the 4th place battle, and still we continue to squabble over this particular position. The Scirocco was having a tough time getting past cars that were faster than it. Given running in clean air, the Scirocco is just as quick as these other cars, but yeah, trying to find a way past is very awkward, getting a little bit desperate across all of the curbs and trying to get to the inside, and it can carry a lot more speed through there, but the Scion is not going to give up the position easily. Again, we're side by side into the chicane. The two FailRace Motorsport cars leading the train, just got a little bit of space, but it's not by a huge amount. Scirocco trying to be neat on the way out of the turn there, but there was not much he could do at the front, and it was going to be victory for the Aeon Focus, and a relatively straightforward victory for this car. In all honesty, as you can see, nobody really around it to take victory. A much quieter race for the leaders. Second place would go to the other Aeon Focus. Again, as you can see, no cars really around it. Fairly clean, fairly straightforward race for these cars at the front. Third would go to the Scirocco, exactly the same order as they started in. Once it escaped the clutches of the FailRace Motorsport cars and we all started squabbling massively, it was, yeah, a fairly quiet race for them. we weren't done. As you can imagine, we hadn't quite finished back here. My teammate had just got that little bit of a gap in front. I'd managed to outbrake myself into the hairpin, having a go trying to get past, and that dropped me back into the clutches of the Scion as we come down the back straight, and I'm in trouble now. I know I'm in trouble because of the straight line speed. You can see he's passed before we even get to the braking zone, and while the focus is good on the brakes, I can't quite do anything at this moment. Fortunately for me, the Scion runs a little bit wide. I'm neat through the hairpin, and then it's throw caution to the wind because I want to get a 5th place around the outside of the final turn. We both understeer a bit wide. The Scirocco's even wider in the background, and yeah, I managed to hold on to 5th place. So 4th and 5th for the FailRace cars. Not too bad, and we had a huge amount of fun in that battle, and then the Drivatars plant the Scirocco in the wall, as you do. This little group were also fighting for the latter half of the race. This was for 9th place as they come under braking into the hairpin, and the Scirocco just slightly overcooks it, run wide on the exit. The Civic is trying to get up the inside. The Scirocco gets a huge amount of understeer and then runs a little bit wide through the final turn as well. So the Civic claims 9th place, while the Scion managed to hold on to 8th. There was a lot of squabbles throughout the field. It was a very, very good first race. The results, the top 5 were pretty much as they qualified, with the two FailRace motorsport cars sort of swapping places. Highest placed Scion, though, ended up in 6th, with a Scirocco splitting the two Scions. As I said, 9th place went to the Honda Civic, and that would be the highest placed Civic. With the rest of the field, a mixture of the remaining cars. A couple of DNFs with some connection problems. It wouldn't be a FailRace event without somebody having a connection issue. That's just kind of, yeah, it just kind of happens. For the second race, we would have a full reverse grid of the finishing order for race 1, which put the fast guys at the back and the slightly slower cars at the front, which was hoping to make some more action. I again got myself caught up on the curb on the inside of turn 1 and promptly dropped all of the positions. Yeah, I had 2 really, really bad starts. Things went wrong further up, though, as I think it was a sliding focus in the end, sort of caused a bit of chaos between a Civic, the other FailRace motorsport car, and I'm not sure, something else was involved. Amazingly, the crash only took out 3 cars. Considering it was a crash in mid-pack at one of the highest speed corners on the track, it was remarkable that only 3 cars got spun, and it wasn't a particularly big shunt either. They just kind of all got shuffled off the track and didn't take anybody with them. The 2 Aeon cars were already up to sort of, I think it was around 6th place at this point, trying to go either side of another Focus. Yeah, they are in 5th and 6th at this moment in time. They started from the back row. That's quite a lot of positions they have made up. It's a Scion drag race going on at the moment here into the big braking zone. Both of the cars get themselves stopped, and then the rest of the train going around. Despite my wonky start, I'd actually done quite well out of the crash. That I'd somehow managed to avoid it despite it all sliding off the track in front of me. I'd actually made some pretty good progress, and I found myself right behind the 2 Aeon cars. I was kind of hoping that I could follow them up towards the front. Found a Scion in front of me that was struggling with understeer through this long turn. I've just got so much more grip, give a little bit of push on the way out. I go to the inside, the 2 Focuses in front of me are going side by side. The Scirocco is battling with a Focus behind me, and is all too wide into the chicane. I managed to get a move past the Scion. Unfortunately, a Scirocco gave a tiny tag to a Focus, and that put it round while everybody's still on cold tyres. I then get a big bump from the Scion, who helpfully corrects me and puts me pointing back in the right direction, and then I lose all of the places because I was a bit slow off the corner. But yeah, it was a helpful nudge to get me back around. My teammate then gives me a push all the way down the back straight, and we both get past the Civic, which was, or keep, I should say, I keep the position from the Civic. Yeah, the push was nice all the way down here. He then promptly goes to the inside as we go under heavy braking into the hairpin. The Civic tries to have a go around the outside. We all do get stopped. There's a Scirocco out rather wide. I'd fit through the middle, and it's almost 3 wide. Just get that just a little collision with the front of the car caught on the back of the vehicle, and neither of us can turn away. Unfortunately, it sends the Scirocco into the runoff area at the final turn. But again, no massive harm was done. At the front, it was the 71 Scion that had held up, or had been fighting with this with the same Scirocco for the entirety of that first race. They were now fighting for the lead with much the same results. The Scirocco did actually manage to make a pass through the chicane there. He's got the move done as they come up towards the hairpin. You can imagine what is about to happen though as they leave the hairpin. Even with the understeer out wide, the Volkswagen just can't quite hold on. It's probably the best chance it had, and on this car, it just doesn't quite have the speed down here. And sure enough, the Scion is back past, and behind them there is the other white and orange Scion is there in third at the moment, and under braking. Scirocco is a little bit too far back. Even with the Scion going a bit too deep in the turn, he's still got the car on the inside for the final turn. It's too wide through the last corner. The Scirocco is out across the curbs and still can't quite get it done. The Scion's got the drive up towards the first corner. Volkswagen is on the inside, but tries to take a bit too shallow a line, ends up wide on the exit. Scion is back past. With these cars being front-wheel drive and a lot of power and a lot of torque, if you do get the line a little bit wrong, you understeer off the course by a mile. It's yeah, very, very easily done. The Scirocco is again trying to get past. It just about draws alongside on the exit, but can't do anything into the chicane. And the more they fight, the closer the Aeon cars were coming to them. A little bit further back, we have another focus. One of the DNFs from race 1 was finding himself in the midst of a battle with guess what? The other Scion was still making a nuisance of himself when it came to the straights, bringing the Scirocco with them, but yeah, not quite with the straight line speed bit. Up towards the big stop, you can see the couple of FailRace Motorsport cars in the background. The Focus just can't quite get it slowed down in time, and he too runs wide. Although if you do run wide there, you don't lose as much time as you, shall we say, potentially could, because it does put you on the inside for the final turn. The Scirocco was just sublimely fast through those final few corners. It's almost 3 wide up into turn 1. That's not really what you want to be doing. Through here, the Focus gets himself caught on the inside, gets a little bit of a bump, and that's the big sideways moments you can get with these cars. Yes, they are front-wheel drive, but they can be rather tail-happy from time to time. Again, there's the odd little sort of lag movement going on, but yeah, there wasn't anything too bad in this second race. And you can see while these guys were scrapping, the FailRace cars were beginning to catch up. The Scion having a go at the inside of the Scirocco. You can see the grip the Volkswagen has though, keeping it around the outside of the hairpin and then pulling a decent sized margin as they round the final couple of corners. At the front, and the Scion still led the way. The two Focuses dispatched the Scirocco without too much trouble, but they were having equal difficulty of replacing this car at the front. They were just so difficult to overtake, even with the running wide. The Scion there finding the bump, that's not where you want to go with these cars. Is incredibly easy. If you end up running that wide, that you will spin out across that bump with these cars' handling characteristics. The two Focuses just could not find a way past. They're having sort of a look around the outside of the hairpin with the number 22 there, but he's slow off the turn, and now the Focuses are fighting with each other, and the Scion has a fairly sizable gap back to the cars behind. You know, by the time you get into the braking zone, yet again they're going to be too far back. The other Scion trade, yep, the FailRace Motorsport cars had joined in the fun of trying to find a way past. There was another Focus as well that was coming here to help out. I was trying to do the best that I could, but again, we're just not quick enough off the turn. Now, my favourite overtaking spot on this track, I'm not a huge fan of the braking into this hairpin. I made a mess of it a couple of times. I was one of the people running wide here. I much preferred getting an overtake through the final corner. The white and blue Focus having problems of his own, and I see the Scion is a little bit slow off the corner, so I'm around the outside of the final turn, and that compromises the Scion line, and my teammate can come through as well. So a little bit of FailRace teamwork on that one, getting past the Scion there. Yeah. It's that's what you got to do. It's the best place to get past them cars, because now we're coming up to the fast sort of sweeping corners, and yeah, the TC can't do much here. We've just got to make sure we don't take each other off, and going on 2 wheels in the Focuses through there is not really the the ideal, but everybody survived, and that is the important thing. And at the front, the Aeon cars couldn't get past either. They were they were still looking for a way. This time, the focus is much closer as we come through the sweeping corners. Got to be careful about his teammate, though, having a look up the inside here. If you get a good run out of this turn, try and get to the inside under braking into the chicane, and sure enough, the black focus is past. The Scion is not giving up without a fight, though, still trying to have a look for a way past. The focus, though, has not really got enough of a lead. Coming out of the hairpin is a little bit slow out of the turn as well. And now we begin yet another drag race down here. Focus is going across to the inside, trying to make it as difficult for the Scion to get past as possible. The gold focus, of course, is still well within reach if anything goes wrong. TC is just too quick, even with moving over to the inside. The focus couldn't do much, but he is in a good range for having a dive, but it was far too big a dive. The focus gets a little bit of a lock up and runs far too wide into the turn, drops him back down into third place. Now it is the other focus's turn to see if he can find a way past. Again, a little further back, and things were still just as exciting. This time, a Civic trying to have a look for a way past on the focus. This chicane, while it looks like a good overtaking opportunity, is a bit of a fiddly one because it's so slow and kind of narrow and the curves are very nasty. It's not actually that easy a place to get an overtake on the run out of the turn. You'll see how the Civic is not that mismatched with the Focus when it comes to straight line speed. There isn't that much difference in them. We'll see that the Scirocco gets dropped a little bit, and of course the TC ahead of this lot are going to go flying away. But yeah, in the slipstream, the straight line speeds are pretty even, which gives the Civic a good chance of finding a way past. In the end, the Focus does what everyone's been doing in this second race and just completely outbrakes himself into the final hairpin. Does keep it on the track, but is again compromised as they come through the final turn. Now the Civic is looking again at the outside at turn one. The Focus is still just about managing to defend, but just runs a little too deep into turn one. That lets the Civic pass, and of course the Scirocco, now we're in the twisty bits, Scirocco comes past as well. You can't afford to make mistakes with these cars when there's so many people around. Just that tiny little mistake is all it's going to take, and you see here, two cars have gone past. Now the Scirocco's all over the back of the Honda as we come down the fast sweepers, just a little bit too far back to try anything into the chicane. At the front, and the Focuses were trying to get past. This time though, pretty damn close as they come down the long straight. Got a good run out of the hairpin, and now they're close under braking, and the Scion just messes up a little bit, is out a bit wide. The Focuses are side by side, little bit of a lag bump, and the Scion ends up across the curb around the final turn and loses both first and second place. But now the Focuses are going to go at it on the run towards turn one, squeezing right against the wall, and things go a little bit wrong. It's a little bit of a bump between the pair of them. The Scion then gives them a bump as well, and both Focuses end up out wide at turn one. TC is back into the lead, and the Scirocco that had been having a relatively quiet race in fourth was now closed right up to the back of them. Yeah, just as they get past, they manage to have their own little accident between the pair of them. The Scirocco is now right with them coming into the chicane, and that is how it would finish. After the little bit of bumping between its touring cars, there's a little bit of bumping in. You can see the damage on the back of the Scion here. It would be the TC that would take victory in race number 2, with the two Focuses getting second and third, while the Scirocco would get a very close fourth place. The second race was equally good fun. Here you go. Here are the full statistics. Scion taking victory ahead of the two Focuses. Then two Sciroccos in fourth and fifth. This time I managed to beat my teammate in to get sixth place. A little bit better race from me. Still, starts were abysmal on both of these. I need to redeem myself next time out, and a Scion came in 8th. Further down, we have finishes this time. There were no disconnections, with the Focus coming in 9th. Other Scions didn't fare quite so well, a little bit difficult to drive. This time the Civics, the highest position Civic, only came in 12th. Yeah, not the greatest race for the Civic, although there weren't a huge amount of them. On to the championship standings after round 1. The two Aeon Focuses, of course, are at the front. A little bit close with the race victory. Scion up into third. Then the two Siroccos ahead, or the fact the two Siroccos, fourth and fifth, while FailRace are on equal points. And yeah, it's a little bit close in that that mid-table area, which is where you kind of expect it to be close. And yeah, then further down. We have the assortment of other vehicles. Yeah, good fun. Good fun first couple of races. Lots of close racing with touring cars, which is what you always want to see. However, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.